Welcome viewers and my dear students. So today just I am going to focus upon the most significant and also the most dynamic factors that is be suited to this, that is the consequences of the first war of independence. So what is the consequence of the first war? It was the vital and the most important factors. So out of the factors, that is, so because it shook the very foundation of the British Empire or British rule in India. So first the end of the company's rule. End of the company's rule. So it is the most important factor out of all factors. Because the East India Company rules came to an end, then the British Crown's rules came to be existed. Means the end of the ruling of the East India Company. And during the time, the board of control and also the board of directors, those who are in responsible of the East India Company. So now when it has come to the hands of when it has come to the hands of the British Crown, means here the responsible authority or the power just was given to the Secretary of the State, and the Secretary of the State, it was also the part and it's all member of the British cabinet, and it was also under the control of British Parliament. So ultimately the power also going switching on to the hands of the British Parliament, of the Indian administration. So another thing just I will mention, the Secretary of the State was also being assisted by a 15-member Indian Council. So out of the 15 members, 7 members just were being elected or chosen by the Court of Directors, and the rest 8 was elected by the British Crown. So out of the total 15 members. And the Secretary of State salaries and allowances also was being delivered just by the revenue tax collected from the Indian people. So the second point, that is the Queen Victoria's proclamations. So that is the Queen Victoria proclamations. So when he got the proclamations during the time, so Lord Canning, during the time, Lord Canning just was the Lord Canning just was the first viceroy of during the time. He made public the proclamations of the Queen Victoria, and it was made to public just at Allahabad on November 1, and it was also 1858. And there is also measures or promises was given in that act or in that promises. First one, non-interference in the social and religious affairs of the Indians. Second point, the Indians means that is the treat all subject. Treat all subject means suppose those persons quite sparky and also very brilliant, suppose in education and abilities were chosen for all subject just to be appointed. That was the two parameters. Education on the one hand, and on the other hand, perseverance, your abilities. So on banking upon that, the selected the process was being made on that. So another a general pardon or excuse are being given to those Indians just to fought the first war of independence against Britishers. And excuses are given, but those are found guilty of just murderers of British at those times, that was also not being pardoned or excused from that act. Another thing I described, the end of the Mughal and Peshwa. Bahadur Shah, with the death of the Bahadur Shah second, so the Mughal Empire came to an end because he had gone to Rangoon. Mughal Empire came to an end, and then also the last Peshwa, also during the time. So he had also fled to Nepal. When this first war of independence became failure, so here comes an end to the full stop or the end to of the mark of that is called the uh, Maratha rule. So means two supreme, that is called two formidable enemies of the British comes to an end, just glory of the time. So another the relation princely states. So during the times, so the policy of annexation and doctrine of lapse were abandoned, and also some princely states, those are the princes of those states, and they are also very loyal to the Britishers, and their loyalty just was granted. Their loyalty was also given in example, that is called they were also very helpful in suppressing the uprisings, and their loyalty was also rewarded with the announcements. Announcement means that is the right to adopt the heirs. Right to adopt the heirs, which was first not initially being taken, that was disregarded. First, also lastly, it was regarded as given permission, I say you can accept the adopted heirs. So that's why swinging into these promises. So another, the policy of divide and rule. The British issued the most prominent policies of divide and rule policies among the Indians. That is caste to caste and community community, and also religion against religions, groups and against, and lastly, that is against the Hindus also with the Muslims at last. Because this policy was very favorable to them. And next policy, the racial antagonism. British believe that they are a racial superiority because they thought that a social gap must be just made between the Britishers and Indians. And I'll give some examples. Suppose in also that is called that is also that is the hotels, clubs, railway compartments, parks. It is only reserved for the Europeans only, not for the Indians. So here means the feeling of the superiority of the racialism of the Britishers and increase the racial bitterness. So after the uprising of 1857, the bitterness of the racialism became so much widening, and the gulf between so much also sparkling up. Means that is the Indians are subject to so much insults and also the humiliating by the Britishers. And standing on the platform also, they also remodeling that means also they are going against the racial superiority. They are showing their predominance or superiority of their racialism. So religious also. Religious means the British rulers declared very emphatically, that's just very emphatically, their policy of the non-interference in the religious affairs and tradition customs of the Indians also. And changes in the army. The strength of the Union troops also during the times also, it was also considered to be increased, but rather than it was not just increased. And it was also maintained up to the first war of the same ratio as equals to that. And Uram troops also held in also the key positions, and also that is called the geographical or military positions also. And in order to also discourage the nationalism, it was also different caste feeling, community feeling. Also in the different regiments, it was also being followed. Discrimination of castes, also communities, also it was also being also marked out. So another that next point, the rise of nationalism. So because the uprising of this also in 1570 war also, and it got away just to national movements just afterwards. So some revolutionaries that is during the time, there also Rani Lakshmibai and also Rani Lakshmibai and Nana Sahib and Mongol Pandey. They served as source of inspiration for the also the future also freedom fighters of India. And lastly, the widening of the gulf between the Hindus and Muslims. Because at first, when the War of Independence got also sparked up or started, so there also very so much also means interesting, and also so much also great enthusiasm between the Hindus and Muslims also shown up. But in the latter part, when the war came to an end, also it was showing the bitter enemies of each other. So no interest, no enthusiasm on the sides of the both, because due to the divide and rule policy of the Britishers. And it was also deliberately made out such plans to have to make the partition between Hindus and Muslims at last. So I have stood up to that. So thank you very much. Yes, now thank you and bye bye to all.